Good morning. Today is Tuesday, March 5th. I'm going to look at a bunch of different markets today. And so instead of trying to write all these up, it's much easier for me to do a video. I'm looking at equities. I'm going to look at gold and crude. I already kind of glanced at them and I think they're worth looking at, but I've been kind of surprised at how well the market profile is working for the equities. There's some nuances there that are different, obviously, but that's what I'm trying to learn those. So just kind of spending some time, keeping an eye on them through the market profile lens and getting a feel for what they're doing. But I know a couple of things that I've seen, my bias has kind of crept up and said, it's not very likely, but then it ends up following through. So another thing, someone subscribed or pledged to the Substack. I appreciate that. It's free, and I know they know that. So it was just out of the goodness of their heart. I appreciate that. It means I'm doing something right. So thank you. So on the ES, these are my profiles. The white ones are the RTH session, and then these kind of red. I know it doesn't show up well, but I like it like that. The red ones are the overnight sessions. So Friday we had this trend profile. It was a trend day up. Left a couple singles in the profile. We closed near the highs. And then we had the overnight session. Merge this just to clean it up a little bit. Merge with prior. So the overnight session yesterday was decent volume. It was inside of the range, and then we opened up inside of the range. This green square right here is where we opened. So we opened up in the previous range and the previous value, which lowers the probabilities a little bit. We've got a bunch of news coming up this week. Powell speaking, I believe tomorrow and the next day. So didn't necessarily expect a ton of value after, you stack all those things up. But, looking at the weekly and the monthly, has been undoubtedly strong, undeniably strong. The monthly chart trending up, the weekly chart trending up. We're not on balance on either of those. We're still in trend. The daily chart looked good. So coming to yesterday's session, the job was to look long. And I was aware of that. My scenario one was that we were going to stay in balance. My scenario two said, I know I'm letting bias get the best of me. We should be one time framing up. But, in hindsight, that worked out pretty good because it was balancy until we kind of blew through everything and finally went higher. But when we look at yesterday's profile, so we opened up at the lows and we had a pretty strong open in the sense that we kept coming back and tagging the open, but there was buyers there that kept absorbing that. And you see we even came back and B period and tested again. So we had a lot of tests of the open, but it kept holding the open, couldn't really auction below. So I was looking, at that point, I was looking for a long. And I'm not here to talk about what trades I've taken or anything, but so the B period didn't really make a lot of range above A, but we one time frame up in C period. And we kind of continued to move higher. Finally took the overnight high. And then I had left at this point. I had a meeting and then I quit for the day. I was actually tired of getting sleep yesterday or the night before, so I went to sleep. But we had a nice move up above the previous high day and went straight to our call wall, SPX 5150. So it was a nice move. Looking at the daily bar, we have a big wick though. So we came up, we hit that level. We saw large lots. Let's see, go back to this chart. So we saw this red line here are the large lots. So as we started getting up above the previous high day, we saw large lots liquidating. They were down 7,400 contracts by the end of the day. So big move on large lots, something that I keep an eye on. It's been fairly quiet here lately, and we know volume has been really low. It was very poor yesterday too. So main thing yesterday though is we one time framed up. We did have low volume and relatively low range, 22 22 points of range, 900,000 of volume. When you look at the profile, this is a B-shaped profile, which is a long liquidation profile. And generally, you know, when I see that, it's going to be that we open up at the highs and we move down and liquidate. But this happened at the end of the day where we moved up, and then in M period, we retraced almost everything down towards the open. So value was overlapping. So we didn't really get a bunch accomplished yesterday. We closed inside of value. Value was overlapping. And so now this gets us to our overnight profile today. So yesterday we weren't able to get the overnight low. We weren't able to get the open. We weren't able to get the IB low. So those are kind of bullish things. But in the overnight this session, now we've moved quite lower. We moved back to this pullback area that I was watching on our trend day. We had this nice pullback where we had a lot of big order flow come in. So as far as what happened yesterday, so we tried to go higher. We didn't do a very good job of that, obviously, because we closed back in the range and value near the lows of the day. So we can kind of look at what the stats are for today. And let's see, where are my stats? So if we open below the range, below value, of course, our best stats a previous low a day. So look at this 51.35 level, 68% chance of touching this level. We have about a 45% chance of the overnight low. So those are the two areas I'm going to be watching. We do have previous settle here. So we could look at this level. I'm going to be looking at this previous low day level to go short, and above the previous settle would be a good out for me. Not that much risk. And then, you know, if we take this overnight low, we take the IB low, all those things are going to start stacking to the bearish side for me today anyway. Like I said, we're still an uptrend on everything, but a few days of pullback isn't going to kill anything. Our delta is still very negative. Our delta divergence is still very negative on ES. So this is ES on the left. We have NQ here in the middle and RTY on the right. So we've actually seen some buying, short covering in RTY, but you have ES and NQ down at the lows here. So I have a lot of negative delta on those. So let's see. One thing too I wanted to mention is this 51.12 was a pretty key level going into this trend day. I'll close this up a little bit. Was a pretty key level going into this trend day. It was actually the call wall at the time, but our ratio on ES SPX has come down a little bit. So I'm not sure, 51.12, maybe more around 51.07. Something else that's interesting. Let me check make sure my accounts are closed here. So, okay, if we look at SPY here, we have this put wall down here at 509. So that's fairly correlated to about this 51.05 area, basically about where the open's at on this trend day. So this 51.05 is correlated to the put wall on SPY. That's also going to be real close to 5100 on SPX. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that level. Because I'm sure it doesn't really show up on the major levels for SPX today, but I'm sure there's a lot of gamma there. So if we look at NQ, very, well, I shouldn't say very similar because it's not really. NQ has been weaker, so we look at NQ yesterday, this profile here, we could not get the overnight high. We couldn't get the previous high day. We one time frame down. So we tried to go higher. We took the IB high, but it was a very bouncy day. And then we had a price probe lower. and closed below value down here. So we had a neutral day, extreme down. So generally I would look to see if we accept prices in this area, but we've had a lot of elongation in this overnight profile. We've gotten a lot more done in the overnight than we did in yesterday's profile. So do we even get back to that level? So that's a level I'm going to be watching. This previous low day, the settle's going to be down in this area. I think that NQ definitely looks a lot weaker. So let's see. We couldn't even get the overnight POC last night or yesterday on NQ. Yeah, so those are two levels I'm going to be watching: previous low day and the overnight low. RTY. I don't know if there's much sense in even looking at this market, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But RTY, we tried to get above this balance. Look at the weekly TPOs. So we tried to get above this balance here, and we can see this area on the larger. This is our weekly chart, and then I'll put the monthly down here at the bottom. So this is a very big monthly balance, giant monthly balance. And then we have this weekly balance inside of this that we looked above and failed basically. So RTY, I think looks pretty good. I don't trade RTY, but I think it looks pretty good if you want to be short on something. That's the index I would pick at least. We look at, it looks kind of like a cross between ES and NQ. So we did get the overnight high. We got the previous high day, but we opened up higher in a profile. We couldn't get the IB high. We couldn't get the overnight low, but we did have this price probe down. And right now we're looking like we might open up with a gap here with about 45 minutes left to the open. Enough with RTY. One I did want to look at is look at crude. Let's see. We can leave this expanded, I guess. Let crude load. All right, so this is our weekly balance on crude. You can see it here, down here on the monthly chart. So we looked above that weekly balance, and then yesterday we couldn't even get the overnight high. We have a long liquidation profile down. We got the IB low, put in a lot of volume down here at the lows, and we have a poor low where it looks like ES probably just got a little too short. And if we look at our delta from yesterday, we saw positive delta. So buying, short covering, I don't know, but we can tell by looking at this profile that it looks like we got a little bit too short yesterday near the lows. So our overnight, we've already one time frame down in the overnight. We're now below our value area, so it looks like we might open with a gap down on crude as well. So I'd be watching this 78.70 level, 78.50 level, somewhere in here for rejection, and then looking at the overnight low for continuation down. Look at gold real quick. Gold has a great chart. I wish I would have watched this a little closer yesterday when somebody was pointing out to me, but I was too tired to do much yesterday. All right, so look at this chart. This is pretty crazy. So we had a trend day up that got us out of this balance here. You can look at the weekly chart and the monthly chart. And then we have a gap that did not fill. We got the IB high, trend profile up, a couple sets of singles. Didn't even really try to close those. We had quite a few poor lows down here. And then here we are in this overnight session with double distribution. And now we have a price probe higher. So we'll be looking for kind of the same thing today as we were looking for yesterday. We have a poor low. We have a poor high on gold. So we'll look to see if we can come in and repair this poor high and look for support here. That would be the area that I'd be looking for long. We also have a pretty prominent POC. I have a 9 wide POC, double distribution. So I think this looks the best for continuation. Yesterday we were unable, like I said, to fill the gap and fill the singles. So that may be a possibility that we can't fill this gap today either. But I would like to see that fill before we do anything. So one other thing on gold is look at the shorts on gold. So if there's any doubt in my mind if this can go higher or not, this tells me right here that it can. As long as people keep shorting this, then it can keep squeezing higher. So gold's one of the ones that I would look for a potential opening range break to the upside. All right, now the fun stuff. Looking at the equities. So this is Apple, and this was a level that that I was watching on Friday, the short below, and we moved down below that. We gapped down yesterday. Looks like we're going to gap down today. We have a poor low on Apple. So we can see the delta here on Apple too. They're very short Apple. We have a poor low, so I think they got a little too short yesterday. And we ended up having this squeeze at the end of the day where, in my opinion, this was probably people, we got too short the market late in the day. These people covered into the close. And then we have a big gap down overnight. So obviously this overnight or this previous low a day would be an area that I would love to try a short on Apple. Whenever I was trading equities a lot, I liked that move where we'd gap and then we'd come close the level and then use it for continuation. But this has already had a pretty good move. And we're getting into an area that we might start finding some serious buyers jump in. So I would keep that in mind. Microsoft. So the delta is very neutral. Delta is very neutral on Microsoft. We are still in balance. We're still in balance here, so I don't know if I would even really watch this market very closely. We have been just moving value higher every day though, so if we get a reaction here, we open up and get a reaction at the previous low day, I think that's a good risk to reward long on Microsoft. Let's see, I didn't look at the levels look at Apple. Yeah, so this 170, we have some support. Microsoft, this previous low day is really close to our 1 sigma down. So that alone, we should see some buyers step in on. So if we can find good support here, then might very well see either a bouncing kind of day or a nice move up on Microsoft. When I say nice move up, I'm not looking for a huge move, but I think it could be a potential long where you get in a good trade location. So let's see, we'll take a look at what's next. NVIDIA. So everyone knows what NVIDIA is doing, and we had a huge gap. That's something I pay a lot of attention to. Obviously, NVIDIA has been moving higher on the monthly and the weekly chart, the daily chart. Been moving value up, moved it up again yesterday. Excuse me, with another large gap that couldn't fill, couldn't get the IB low, couldn't test. Don't believe we can test the open. Where's the open on NVIDIA? I have these charts set to 1 tick. So we did test lower, reject, and then move higher the rest of the day. Strong double distribution. We did have some inventory correction at the end of the day, so I would look for NVIDIA to move value higher. I don't think that there's a lot of value here for good risk to reward. Even the delta is very long on NVIDIA. I think on this type of day, the risk reward's a little better than today. We're open up, inside of value in range on a name that's been moving like crazy. That's my opinion on the video. I would stay away from it today. While that's loading, we can look in the video. We're at about a 1 sigma move up, which doesn't mean that much on the video. But we don't really have much resistance until the previous high day, and then we have 900 as where we have a lot of positive gamma. We do have this 850 area is interesting because that was this pullback low. So I think that would be a good dip buy on the video. I have the 1 sigma down and the VWAP here, but that's, if I want to play in a video, that's where I would play it. So Meta, we have a call wall at 500. So Meta balanced yesterday, and we had overlapping value and kind of a swap profile. And we're moving lower, looking like we may open with the gap. So we do have, I thought Delta was falling off the map there, but market's very short on Meta. I might look to get involved around the previous low day, this balance low. If not, if I really wanted to be short, then I would look to get short the overnight low. We do have room down to this balance at 490. It's not a bunch of room for the overnight low, but it's not something I'd be super interested in today. If we can get back inside of value and take the overnight high, perhaps look for it to go up to the balance high. I really want to trade that one. Wow. All right, so we were looking at this balance area on Tesla, and yesterday we took that balance area very forcefully and had a long liquidation profile down. We also have a poor low on Tesla as well, or it looks like the market just got a little too short. So I like Tesla for continuation. We're deep inside of this larger balance area. So we're back inside of this weekly balance. So obviously this was the better trade location if you could have gotten in on the break of balance. But you know, if we can test this area, like the close area, the repair this poor low on Tesla, then I think it makes sense to look for a short and see if we might be able to break below this weekly balance, you know, for a swing trade. Let's look at Tesla here. We're below zero gamma. We have some put wall support down here at 180. And we're already below our 1 sigma area today. Kind of testing our 2 sigma area. So we might not get a whole lot more extension out of Tesla today, but don't have to trade every name every day, right? Let's see, what are we looking at? We're looking at Amazon here. So Amazon was at the top of this monthly balance, and I think I was a little conflicted here on, you know, it gets to be one of those areas that are just a higher risk area to trade. And if we can get a clean breakout and some kind of dip to buy on, some kind of rejection of the support, you know, find support and getting an entry long, then that's great. But otherwise, I lean towards looking for it to stay inside of balance. So this could be a good opportunity to catch the look above and fail back in a balance on Amazon. Let's see what so we had the call wall there that it rejected yesterday. That would have been a pretty ideal location to get in on. We have our monthly VWAP here around the 178.26 level. We're still within 1 sigma in the overnight. We have a lot of room down. So 150 is below this previous balance area, inside of this, basically inside of this balance area here. I like Amazon. I like Amazon for, we have a poor low on Amazon as well. Close to a poor low on Amazon. And that's where our previous open was. We have a ledge here. Yeah, look at that. So if at all possible to get an entry here, I think that's a place that requires at least a shot. I don't know if that's going to be likely, but I like this chart a lot for getting in the beginning of a potential nice move down. Let's see, Google. Kind of off the map there. So this is what I was just talking about might happen on Amazon. This is what we're getting on Google. So we looked above and then we failed here with a pretty big gap down. And look inside of this profile. So we had liquidation on A period and then we just kind of balanced out the rest of the day. I would look for this area, this 133.80, 134 area. I think that would be a likely area to get in for a short and look for continuation down. Anything on like a gap fill, that's a very large move up. It just doesn't seem like the probabilities are very good for that. Sorry, Google GEX. I have some support down here at 130 on Google. Put support. Okay, so AMD, we've had a couple gaps. Looks like we might have an island top. I think most people know what that means. If we can come up and close this gap today, again, I think that's a very visual area that people will short. And we have a pretty good target here. So, if it comes down and tests this balance, or if it rejects this balance, regardless, I think that's a pretty good trade. So again, I'd be looking for gap fill or an ability to fill this gap. I haven't been trading the equities very much in a while, but I know that I really like the trade where it come up and fill the gap. But I know whenever I kind of stopped trading equities, they just disappeared. It would open and just drop like a rock. So basically the ORB down, look for the 30-second breakdown on this and, potentially Amazon, Google, Tesla, Apple. Again, I think that's a low risk, high reward trade that's worth taking. And if not, take a second shot at a higher reference for rejection on those. But everything is all the equities look better to the downside to me. Not all of them, but most of them do. So anyway, those are my thoughts today. Let's see. I haven't put this in my stack yet, so I want to look at what do we have here. Tuesday we have PMI 9:45 Eastern. What to expect? They've been reacting positively. Market's been reacting positively to lower data. Don't really care. We'll see what the market does. But 10 o'clock we have, so which one was that? S&P Services PMI and then ISM Service PMI. Durable goods final. And see, it's currently nearing a good place. Much higher rating may show overheating. Not too concerned with that, but let's see. So earnings, I don't think we have much today. We have Target, Premarket, and then Crowd and Ross after the close. Those are just some major earnings. I filtered those out. See if we missed anything else. So PMI, factory orders, and ISM at 10 Eastern. And then that's it for today. Tomorrow's a big day. Jolts, Powell, another Fed speaker, Beige Book, another Fed. And then we have Powell again on Thursday. And FP on Friday. So at least as far as the indexes go, I don't know if we're going to get a ton of volume or anything in today. I think that may be waiting on some of this data, judging by the volume. So we'll just kind of have to see and see what the market gives us. So Anyway, I hope everyone has a good day trading, and I'll see y'all after the close.